How to value vintage clothing. This is a question that I get daily, and this is a question that circulates through the vintage community all the time. The answer is not eBay, okay? The answer is not eBay. Sure, it's a tool, but that's not the answer, okay? There are so many factors that go into answering this age-old question. How do we value vintage clothing? How do I value vintage clothing, and how does the market determine the value of vintage clothing? I'm going to get into a bunch of these answers on this video. Probably forget a few, so if I do forget any of them, you can sure put them in the comments below. Okay, the first factor that goes into determining the value of vintage clothing is how rare something is, okay? Sure, people always say it. I can find it in the thrift. You know, that's something if you're a vintage seller, you're going to hear all the time. Someone's browsing your racks at the flea market, or they're browsing the racks in my store, and they turn to their friend and they go like, I'm just going to find this in the flea. Oh, sorry, find this in the thrift. Find this in the thrift. Sure, you can go find it in the thrift. How long is it going to take you to find it in the thrift? A month? You're going to have to go to the thrift every day for 6 months to find that one garment? You know, the value is how long it takes to find, which basically is directly related to how rare the garment is, okay? So if there's not a lot of them out there, it's going to take a long time to find, which means the value is more. But that's just the first step in this, okay? Because there's some things that are super rare that are worth nothing, and some things that aren't rare that are worth a lot of money, okay? Now, this comes down to subcultures or the context of the garment, okay? Obviously, certain subject matter is way more valuable than other subject matter. It doesn't matter if they're just as rare as each other, okay? Skateboarding, for example, as a subject matter, super popular. It's a very important part of American history, in the world history. It's a subculture. It shaped fashion in a lot of ways, you know, so the vintage from that era is valuable. Motorcycle culture, it's badass. It's associated with Americana. It's valuable. You know, the New York City Marathon, not so valuable. People don't really care as much about that. Or cruise ship, Carnival Cruises. You know, Carnival Cruise Ship t-shirt from the 70s. It's not so badass. Doesn't carry much value. I see so many sellers out there making fun of people that don't know the value of a t-shirt. This is super ridiculous to me, okay? When you go to a mechanic and he tells you that your exhaust is going to cost you $500 to fix, you're going to be shocked too, because you don't know that business. You don't know what's going on there. Why make fun of people just because they don't know the value? We should be educating them. We should be educating them on the value. How can you expect a person who doesn't know the difference between Levi's in the store today and Levi's from 1940s to pay for those Levi's from 1940s if they don't know the details, they don't know the difference? How do you expect them to pay that value? But if they're educated and they understand it, they understand that the quality is better, they understand the history of it, then maybe we can invest them in it, and maybe we can get them to be interested in vintage and understand the value. So don't make fun of people, educate them. First thing is how rare it is. How long is it going to take you to find it? That determines the value. Is it worth your time to spend 6 months in the thrift digging for something? Or would you rather just pay the $50 from the vendor and get that shirt, have it conveniently put on a rack, merchandise with a bunch of other shirts that you can appreciate, and you enjoy your shopping experience? So there's that. There's the subcultures, okay? Is it attached to motorcycle culture, cowboy culture, something nostalgia that we look for from our childhood that like brings back crazy memories? Nostalgia is a huge factor in determining a value of something. If you know, you find a piece, a t-shirt from a TV show that, you know, half of America woke up on Saturday morning to watch, it brings back those memories, that's going to be valuable. It's supply and demand, okay? So if there's a lot of people looking for something and there's not enough stock to supply those people, the value of that stuff goes up. If there's more stock and less people looking, the value of that product goes down. It's so simple. A couple more important things to remember about determining the value of your vintage clothes. Quality, condition, and size, okay? Quality is super important. This is why people nerd out about t-shirt tags so much lately. It's not so much just the tag they're nerding out about, but everyone has their favorite tag because that tag is associated to a quality of t-shirt that has a certain fit for that person, okay? So everyone has their favorite. Is it Fruit of the Loom? Is it Hanes? Mine's is Hanes Beefy. I love those t-shirts. They fit really well. Everyone has their own favorite tag, and it's not so much just nerding on the tag, it's nerding on the fit. But obviously, each brand had a different fit, a different feel, a different shrinkage level. So quality is super huge. And then obviously when you get into like older workwear, denim, leather, all these things, the quality of older stuff is so much better than typical fast fashion. And the t-shirt quality is better as well. Size is huge, okay guys? If you saw an XL of a garment sell on eBay for $100 and you have a extra small, you're probably not going to get as much as that extra large. It's just not a popular size for a t-shirt, okay? You got to remember that size is super important. Condition is super important. If your shirt is so fucking faded out you can't even see the graphic, you know, some people like it like that, some people don't. Depends what it is. It might look cool on a Tupac shirt, but it might look stupid on something else. Also, condition can raise the value. Bad condition can raise the value if it's like a tattered up old Harley shirt that looks really cool, or like really good ripping and staining, or like paint staining from like an actual painter. Some of these things can make it worth more money. It adds the design element. People like it for the fashion design aspect of it. So, you know, it can go both ways, but condition is very important. When we're talking about Levi's, like vintage Levi's, you want it to be dark and as minty as possible. If you can find dead stock, it's worth way more. The more washes a pair of Levi's has, the less value it can gain. Condition, size, and quality are super important physical factors in valuing your clothing. Right now, vintage is in a huge boom, okay? We're in a huge boom. The t-shirt market's pumping. Now, there's lots of stock, but there's also way more people looking for it. There's tons of people looking for it. Vintage has currently hit mainstream popularity. It's accepted to wear secondhand clothing right now throughout all walks of life. You know, it's booming, so there's still like huge demand for this product. Supply and demand, it's a very simple concept. If there's more people looking for something and less available, the demand's gonna go up. People are gonna drive the price of that stuff up. Now, another huge factor in pricing vintage garments is who wore it, okay? This is something that's only really come about in the last 5 to 10 years. In the beginning of when I started this, it wasn't a factor because not a lot of celebrities were wearing vintage. Sure, there was some, but not to the mainstream popularity that it's hit now. People like Kanye West, Travis Scott, you know, the whole fear of God thing making it really popular. So when hypebeasts see these garments on their favorite celebrities, they instantly want it. Now, it also goes hand in hand with rarity because most of these celebrities don't wear everyday t-shirts. They wear t-shirts that are harder to find, t-shirts that are cooler, t-shirts that also are attached to some sort of cooler subculture. There are many factors that go into valuing the clothes that we wear. In the end of the day, the clothing is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. Remember that, okay? Clothing is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. If your price is, you've outmarketed yourself, you're not going to sell it, you got to come down. You know, price is worth what someone is willing to pay for it. And that's subjective to each different seller, okay? Sure, you can run on eBay, you can throw your garment on eBay. Most of the time, eBay is underselling garments. You're losing money by putting your garments on eBay because you can actually get more money off eBay. This is very important. Sure, you can use it as a rough price guide, but it is not the end all be all, okay? You know, I can get way more money for garments at the Rose Bowl that are so obscure that nobody would ever search for on eBay. If it's something that no one would ever search for and they have to like pick it up and hold it and see it and realize that they want it, then you have to sell it face to face. You can't sell it on eBay. No one's going to search for it. So, you know, debunk eBay as the price guide because it's not. Something sell for more on eBay, something sell for less on eBay. In the end of the day, price is what someone's willing to pay for it. And some sellers can get more money for certain things than others. If a seller is super curated, only selling a certain genre of something, he's probably going to have a customer for that genre that's going to outpay somebody on a total mixed genre account, okay? You got to understand that, and you got to not always go for top dollar. You got to understand where you fit in the market on this scenario, okay? Again, Clothing is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. So many factors go into pricing vintage garments. You got to do your own research. The more you're in the game, the more you understand it. It fluctuates like the stock market. These prices are going up, coming down, going up, coming down, depending on what's happening in pop culture. That's another factor in determining what's happening in pop culture. So certain styles come up and go down. Like, it could be that early 90s rave culture is popping, so everyone wants like old rave tees, or all over prints are happening. But all over prints, again, they've come up and gone down and come up and gone down throughout history, and since I've been in this business, it's crazy. Many factors determining how to value your vintage clothing. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, please share it. Please follow my channel. I'm dropping videos all the time. I talk about this very thing with lots of people on my podcast, Vintage and Stuff with Drew Heifetz. You can find those episodes on my channel, or there'll be a link to iTunes down below. Thank you. Have a good day. I'm out.